a son. He was devoured by earth. There was a God. They call him the Father. And there was a means to make a valley with grace out of this hole that I've dug for me. He made a valley of grace.
Welcome to the Valley of Grace podcast, helping women reclaim their power and identity so they will know they are enough. And today we are starting off a brand new series, and that series is entitled The Black Woman Talking Through Our Stories. And so the first person that we have for the guest of this series is Kiana Robinson. So we'll go straight into her telling the audience her story. Okay, Kiana, welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody. Just thank you for having me here and being able to share my journey.
Yes.
So I'm a blogger and an author and an entrepreneur, and I recently re-released my self-published book, Live in Abundance, Your 14-Day Journal to Personal Freedom. And it's 14 of my most intimate personal journal entries from actually 2010 to current. And I've also included a few like bonus reads.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to share like my journey, and hopefully it will inspire someone to better be able to navigate through life as a Christian believer, you know?
Oh, yes. Oh, for sure. So yeah, you can go right. The floor is yours with your story.
Okay.
We're all ears.
So again, so I initially released it 2014, and again, it was re-released this March of 2021. And it was led by the Holy Spirit to just kind of add to it, to revisit it. It was almost like, okay, Lord, you told me to do this, I did it, and I sold a few copies, but it was just like, nothing really came out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, we didn't have as many resources that we have now for self-publishing.
True.
So I did a lot of it on my own, a lot of it. But this time around, I've grown since, and that's the reason I had to like update some of the entries. And then I made sure to put the year down under the entry so you can see where I was then versus kind of where I am now and my experiences. And so I talk about parenting, being doubtful, and still being a Christian, but kind of questioning, is this for me?
Yes.
I just share some of my struggles and dealing with mental health. I dabble a little bit into it. So I kind of really introduce you to who I am again through these entries. So.
You know what? And as I'm listening to you, which is a Holy Spirit moment, it made me think about my own memoir, okay? Because I released the first one in March of 2016. Mm-hmm. And then I re-released that same memoir in 2021. So this year,
okay. Yeah.
I re-released. Yes, I definitely felt an urging of the Holy Spirit to re-release, to add on to more details that I had not added on before. And so with that, it was definitely, like you said, it was definitely a God thing where certain areas there had been more growth in, and certain areas that I knew that just had to be updated. And I just wanted to make sure that it was in a format where it was not too much trauma involved in. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. So you actually removed, did you remove some of the trauma to like talk more about the rejoicing moments, like the overcome, like how you overcame those situations? Is
You
that
know
kinda how-
what? I would say I added more of the rejoicing part. The trauma was there, but it was the way that the Lord gave me to write about it was because none of it was funny, but it was more like in a sense of like, it was kind of like in a humorous sense, but it was not funny, but it was like in a humorous sense where you could be like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like something traumatic happened, different things, like for example, in my marriage that occurred, and a lot of traumatic things they were for me, but it was different things like because I was not feeling like I was enough, and I got caught up in like what I described in the new edition as playing board games. You know, first we're going to play a board game of, you know, you need to change your hairstyle, and then the next thing we're going to play this board game. So it's like it's, you know what I'm saying? It's set up different.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that it's, you're making sure that it's not as much that you're making sure the person is not like going on a roller coaster of trauma. It's a little bit lighter, but at the same time, the story is there and it's felt. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
And yeah, and it was more emotional the second time around. And like my therapist mentioned to me, even she said before, she said, when you first talked about things that happened in your marriage, in that relationship, and then like even after, you know, as you went through the divorce and post-divorce, she said that I sounded like more of a news reporter.
Oh, really?
Like it was not my story.
Okay. I'm trying to.
That I was just reporting the news to her. And it was like all this traumatic stuff. But then see, as time went on and as I healed and I was able to integrate the emotions with the words, it became harder to talk about some of these things with her. I talked about them, but it wasn't as easy of a task because my words and emotions were lining up. So, you know, it's like you talk about things and then you're breaking down crying while you're talking about them. You talk about a little bit more because before my emotions were detached from the words because of the trauma, if that makes sense, which is why when I was telling her about it, I sounded more like a tape recorder, not a tape recorder. I said a tape recorder. Yes, news reporter is what I meant to say. Yes. And so it was different for me even writing it the second time around when I decided to redo it. It was very emotional because all the emotions were there and fresh.
You know, I think with my book, could probably be 4 to 6 other books, you know.
Right.
Give you a little bit of a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
I
so
do.
Each day can be a book in itself, or 2 or 3 days can be a book, because so much more that I want to share about mental health, you know, and I just kind of briefly acknowledge that that's something I had to deal with. That's something I deal with, but I can write a book about that, you know, or 2.
Got you.
No, but I do also have scripture references after each day, and then I ask questions the reader, and there's a place for you to respond, because I feel like journaling is so important. We all have a story to share. We don't all have authors, but we all have a story.
Yes.
And so my hope is that you go through this with me, right? And you apply some of my experiences. And I also kind of can relate to what you were saying, because I did add in like fun dating stuff that I didn't have before, because I'm in a different place. And I felt like people probably can relate to this, you know, so I shared dating things, and I even share like a business tip, because that's kind of where I am now, you know, but the core of it is the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something, because it's like, it's the same story that you have, but then it's not. And you see what I'm saying? It's the same story, but it's different, you know? Yeah. But I just thought that was something as far as a similarity, because
I cannot believe this, right? I didn't know this.
I'm listening to you and I was like, oh my word, talk about Holy Spirit, You know what I mean? I mean, wow, that's amazing. So in your opinion, why do you think that Black women, they stay in unhealthy relationships for so long?
Okay. I think because that's I think that's because I think that don't recognize that it's unhealthy a lot of times because it becomes the norm.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So, we've heard those sayings like having a piece of man is better than having no man at all. Like
I've heard of that.
Yes. So we've made unhealthy relationships the norm. And people are fighting for relationships that are really just dead.
Yes.
But they don't want to do that themselves because it's just, but I just think we've just made unhealthy relationships the norm. Like this is the status, unfortunately. This is the bottom of the barrel, which we shouldn't accept, but it becomes the norm. That's number one. And then my other issue is a lot of our men aren't committing to us.
Okay.
And so now we have a kid involved a lot of times, right?
Right.
But then he has a kid with like 2 or 3 other people. He ain't everybody's husband. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do.
So we stay in a relationship because it's like I want the marriage and the husband. So does the other 2 baby mamas.
Yeah.
This is a healthy situation. So you may need to remove yourself out of the equation and let God do what he does. And if that's for you, he'll heal the situation completely. So I just think sometimes we see a lot of unhealthy relationships. We don't see enough, like even in TV and media, like you don't see a lot of like, okay, give me an example. You have the Cosby Show, right?
Yes.
They're Huxtable, all of that gay. But before the Cosby Show, we had like good times.
Right.
And it's like they lived in the projects. And they don't have the education, but they love each other. We have these, So I just feel like we see a lot of that and we just kind of accept it as like the norm.
Right. When it's not the norm.
Right.
For all
being all
Black
down
people.
and out together, being broken together is what I'm saying. Not staying together, but just kind of being broken together and we got to stick,
Right. It's not, that's the one thing that I find interesting about what you mentioned, like with the Black experience, we all have the Black experience, which helps us as the commonality, as a people, but we all have different Black experiences. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So I could relate to good times because I started out in the projects up until I was 8 years old. When me and my mom and dad moved from there, from living with my grandmother. So I could relate to it in that sense. It's like literally, it was good times, and it was just like, wow. And so, but then it's like, once I moved from there, my grandmother still lived there and I still hung out there, still went to the grammar school in that neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? So like I said, I can relate to that. And then I can relate to the world, like once we moved, the world like outside of the projects, but still living on the south side of Chicago. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, even though you're not in the projects anymore, but you're on the south side of Chicago, which my grandmother lived on the south side of Chicago. So still living on the south side of Chicago was his own experience.
Yeah,
then,
I get that.
What I'm saying?
Yeah, I grew up in housing. I get that, but my experience still was not how it's portrayed on TV.
Yours was different. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how, like, you watch like Good Times and you see like the cabinetry in the kitchen looks dingy. It's like, you can wash your cabinets. You don't. You know what I mean? It's like,
I know exactly, because we had
off the wrong image.
Right.
Like missing meals. Some people are, yes, but it's like that's not everybody. There's 2 parents working a lot of times and they're getting out of, like your parents, they got out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, we got out of there. Yeah.
But it may not be like the Jeffersons, right?
Right,
But
not to that extreme.
It's an upgrade. So I just think
but an upgrade.
We didn't see a mix of both. You know what I mean? I don't think
it wasn't enough of a mixture.
Yeah.
And then
our personal lives, like I was born in 1980. So that was like after a lot of Black families weren't marrying. A lot of them weren't marrying because, we
Right.
had the issues, like government aid. And
Yes.
so now you can't have the husband in the house because you get government aid. So you're breaking up the Black family. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I remember that with the cheese and all the, like you said, you had the food stamps, and then you had where they gave out the block of cheese. I remember that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like you said, if you said you were married, I mean, if you got married, then that took away. So a lot of them were not getting married because of that.
Yeah.
That almost started an epidemic. Yeah.
That did. And so I'm born kind of after that, where you got, a lot of people. I guess for me, I think that's when the whole like baby daddy thing kind of came about, because we were getting married in the 40s and 50s and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So now you got these guys that are literally creating families around town. You know what I'm saying? Some of them. And then the kids are not having the stable home environment. But pre-assistance, we were working and thriving and married. And it's just, it gets real deep. But
it does, doesn't it? It gets very, very deep.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, people will look on the outside and look in, and then, as a whole say, well, this is why the problem existed. It's not just one answer. It's very complex. Yeah, like you said, one of them being, if you try to get food stamps or any type of government assistance to help because you couldn't afford it as a family, you needed help. But then if the man was then decided to marry, that was going to be one strike against you getting the help, which will take you even lower than you were before without the help. So like you said, that's what a lot of them did not end up getting married. So it's so many factors involved in that. How sometimes others will look at us as I would say a race, and then prejudge why this is like this and why that's like that. But it's not one set. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
I guess that's what I would say. It's not so.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
It's not so. I guess black and white, as they say. It's a lot of gray. Yeah. It's a lot of gray. So like you said, it's several reasons for why they stay in those unhealthy relationships.
So it becomes like a learned thing. Subconsciously you pick it up. That it's so it's okay that he's not married to you.
Right.
That's one of the things you learn. It's okay.
Right.
We can be together without being like together. Like you.
Right.
So subconsciously you develop, this is what a relationship is, but it's really an unhealthy view of a relationship.
It is. Because abuse is not love. It's almost like, I guess you would say, in a sense, your brain has trained you to like think that that's the norm.
Psyched you out a little bit.
Yeah, it psyched you out. Right, into thinking, this is the norm. This is how everyone operates in a relationship, but that's not how it goes.
And so funny, you said abuse, because I was talking to a friend and she's been in an abuse relationship. This wasn't directed at her in any way, but I forgot what we were talking about. But something happened, and then I said to her, I was like, I feel like people who stay, and this is no offense to people who have been in like verbally or physically or whatever abusive relationships, but I feel like people who are in abusive relationships, a lot of times they have like the same issue as a person that's like chemically dependent upon like something, and she was like, why use as an example? Like, I mean, I don't even know how it came about, but I do feel, because nobody wants to be an addict, right? You don't wake up like, I want to be an addict. Something happens, some experience, and then you become addicted. You chase behind that whatever you get out of it, and then like nobody wants to be abused, but it's like almost like you become addicted to like the drama and the whole roller coaster of it all. And it's because it's like, you can't. Okay, trying to be careful in how I say this because I don't want to be offensive. Okay. But in my mind, a person, they're not the same people. But I'll just say it's the same spirit that causes a person to be addicted to or dependent upon something, like some type of chemical dependency, it's the same type of spirit that's having them addicted to these unhealthy, physically, verbally, mentally abusive relationships. They don't aspire, they know it's not right. They know it's not right. Just like if a person does something, they steal to get their high or whatever it is they do to get the high or whatever, they feel guilty about it, they feel bad about it, they know it's not right. They know putting their kids in harm's way to have it, okay? They're taking from their family to have it. How the same people who are in these abusive relationships, for whatever the reason is, it's not even about the man a lot of times, right? It's not that women don't use men as well, but it's about the way they process things. Also, they know that this isn't the best situation for their kids. It's like they know this. They would never be okay if this was their kid experiencing this. They know this, that is a part that they can't, like, they're almost like addicted to the whole situation. So
and you know what? That's something you say that, because in my marriage, and I was in it for 20 years, I came into it with my unworthiness and not enoughness. Okay. And by that relationship being toxic, my unworthiness / not enoughness was reinforced by him. You see what I'm saying? That was part of his brokenness to keep me down. So it became a toxic dance that we did. I didn't realize how bad what I had been in, how severe it was, until he left the marital residence, and I had filed for divorce a little bit after that. But literally, as soon as he left, I would have thought I had been a person strung out on drugs, because my body went through withdrawal. So I understand exactly what you mean. I didn't realize there was literally a soul tie there. And like you said, you would have thought it was, I can resonate with what you're saying, because I experienced, having to heal in that area, and it was not pretty. You know what I'm saying? When you feel like someone has become a drug. Yeah.
And like, I can't even believe I accepted this. It's like I can't even believe I was okay. Like, because you're sober now, and you look back like, I can't believe that, so and we know it's different factors that put us in certain situations, it's different factors, so I'm not trying to lump it all together, but, I'm sure if you research it, it's some articles or something, because eventually I did, because I was just like, it got to be something with this, God, it got to be something. I did find like an article or two. I didn't spend a lot digging into it, but they're finding there are some like traits or similarities to these groups of people. So I'm like, that was nothing but the Lord, because because sometimes we try to make sense out of stuff, just like
you do.
Me dealing with my mental health issues. You try to make sense out of how, when, where,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is really something. So now, when you think about the words empowered new chapter of life, think about what you would think your definition would be. And then the second part of that, do you think it's the same for Black women?
You said empowered new chapter in life.
Yeah.
Of life.
Yeah. What your definition would be. And then would it be the same for Black women? And if so, why or why not if it's not?
I honestly think it is okay, so for me, I guess what it would be to empower be like, for me, would be financially independent, meaning no debt.
Okay.
For me, it would be living more off the land. That's where I'm heading. For me, that's like the goal, to grow my own produce and things, So I guess it is different for everybody depending on where you are. But for me, that would be like empowerment. That would be better. Like, yeah. And then I think it can be the same for any woman. There is a different, and I'm sure if you ask a group of any other minority group, they probably would say there is a difference, you know. So for our group, who we represent, Black women, I think the difference is we can want all those things, want all those things, and have all those things, right? Living off the land, being more financially independent, being healthier mentally, emotionally, having a regular therapist, exercising like that. We can all do that, right? But I do think, like, as Black women, I think that it's a lot of we got a lot of pain because of the way that we're a lot of times perceived in the world,
Okay. Yes.
And so, I mean, I can tell you so many experiences where, like, you're always seen as tough, just because of you're Black. It could be the most vulnerable Black person I know, right? Most sensitive. She's automatically seen as, like, tough. Like, I got
a strong Black woman type of thing, right? Like superwoman.
Yeah, and that's a lot of times by people outside of our community, because we in our community, we know how like that this person is this type of way,
right?
Because we know us, right?
Right.
So sometimes people on the outside, they just assume that we're all like fighters and tough, and they don't. And that's another thing. On TV, they don't show a lot of vulnerable Black women. They always show.
No, they don't.
So I can be that way, but I'm not always that way, So you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they should only show all of that, even like doing and, praise God for, opening doors for people, telling stories that weren't being told. But a lot of times he kind of showed these same kind of women, and I understand he says what he grew up around, but it's just like, it's a lot to us. I just wish people were, show more of the diversity within Black women. I really wish they represented that more,
I see what you're saying, because it's so many, it's so much diversity. And like you said, some of us might be like this, but not all of us are like that. Or some of us might have some of this, but then it's other, we the business side of us too, Yeah.
It's tree huggers. I mean, you got any kind of woman that you see white women portray on TV, right? There's a Black woman just like that. They can identify with that. You got the tree huggers,
right.
We're not all wearing like weaves and, all of that. We're all kind of ways. It's Black people that ski, that hike, that run.
That's
like,
true. Right.
Not like, why don't people show that? You would only think that we're that one way, or
that we're that one way.
Strong Black woman. I respect, I'm a writer. I get it. He feel like he's telling the stories his audience wants to know, like they can relate to. But it's like, and I'm not saying we need to see more of those kind of people. Like, we're very diverse.
We're very diverse as a people.
Yes, it's not portrayed.
Yes, and it's not portrayed.
People and they assume that I know about something. I'm like, I don't know about that rap. I don't know about, you know what I mean? I don't know who that is.
I do. I've had people to ask me different things, and that's like, and they look at me like, I know and it's like,
it's like,
no, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Or they'll make the reference, well, you grew up in the projects. Yes, I did.
Yes,
but I don't know what you're talking about.
It's not my experience. Sorry. Yeah. But I try to know a little bit about everything, but some stuff's not worth knowing anything about.
I know exactly what you mean. Yep. We're all so very different. We've all. That's one thing about it, is with our experiences. Like I said, we share a commonality as a race, as a people. Where that music and certain things are just so embedded in us as a people, and yet and still we have our own experiences, even within our own culture and our own race. We have our own, like you said, there's some of us that ski, some of us, that jet ski, that's water skiing, and kayaking, and hiking, and the whole thing, climbing mountains, and the whole 9 yards, regular skiing, and you name it. And then there's others of us that shy away from that,
We like music, and we dance. We're not just entertainers, though,
Right. Yes. And it's even diversity as far as music, even though that's a strong commonality, but we all have our different types of music. So, as a people. But like you said, when certain things are portrayed on film, it just seems like it's just one way. When it's so much variety among us,
Right.
Oh my word, yes, it's so much variety among us. So like you said, the Empower New Chapter of Life can definitely be the same. And then again, it can be different in a sense when you look at
because of our culture, our subculture.
right, our
You know?
subculture, yeah, and what we're
Mhm.
up against, even with doing our very best, even with getting educated and still not being recognized for that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With the money that should be coming in and all of those different things.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. Yep, it's a whole lot that we are up against. Now, what role do you think the Black community plays in healing, helping us to heal from our past hurts? And then, or do you think they've played a role at all?
In the Black community, the role they play in healing.
Yeah, like whatever brokenness we have going on, from the past.
I really think, okay, this can get deep. Okay, so I'll just keep it on the surface. So I think we need to be more supportive of one another. Like as far as investing in our own community, that's the biggest part. And to empower other Black people is about investing in other Black people.
Yes.
So that is we need that. If it was a real meeting, people think we have meetings. If it was a real meeting, that's what the meetings would all be about. We need to,
yes.
Invest. Seek out people. Depending on what you're looking for, your makeup. Seek out, Black-owned businesses. Support them. I'm all about supporting all women businesses first off.
Right.
Specifically, really seek after supporting our own. So I think that is one way, and I just think we gotta. Some things we need to stop doing is being so negative. Just being so negative about everything. I mean, growing up, we're judged as women. I mean, again, women were judged very critically. We have to be kept a certain way,
yes.
to be seen as attractive or whatever. Some things you cannot control. Okay?
Yeah,
can't
that's
control
true.
that you was born in. You just can't do it unless
Right.
you choose to bleach. Okay?
That's true.
Why are we bleaching? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, I can go. We can really talk about why we bleach because it's over 400 years of its reasons.
Right. There are reasons we're doing it. Right.
Yeah, there's reasons. It's reasons. But it's like we're still having songs where there's lyrics about light skin being better. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Like just that. That's something we cannot do. You know that, right? Like every generation is like it's somebody. It's like making these comments through music, which are making these little guys think this is what beauty is. Do you understand?
Right. I understand exactly.
I think I got away from the question, but that's something we can do. Invest in each other and stop breaking tearing each other down.
Yes, to help each other to help us to be able to heal. Yes,
and especially I had to bring it back with the beauty standards because that's how, we're judged as women, specifically, especially Black women.
Yes.
We're judged our beauty and, whether I know it's one of the questions you said about, we'll get into that. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right though. So all of that is taken into account when we're trying to heal. Now, do you think the Black community played a role in you healing from your brokenness?
Nah.
Okay. So, do you think it was more like you doing most of the work on your own, or just like a diversity of people helping?
I just think this experience is what seeking God, talking to God, praying, not expecting so much from people. You know what I mean?
I do.
Understanding, this is all temporary, and I mean, just not even just the earth, but just seasons in your life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep, I know exactly. Yep.
I
Too shall pass.
Yeah, I can't give nobody credit but God with that, you know.
Amen. I know
I listen
exactly
to the
what you
word.
mean.
Yeah, because somebody, you know, I'm the biggest I've ever been. If I listen to what somebody else told, I would have been miserable. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Gotcha.
you know, somebody saying you big girl or you cute to be big or whatever the case. You know what I mean? Like, nah, I can't give nobody credit for that one. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This is
Nobody but
fast.
God.
Yeah.
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 Oh my word. Yes, I understand that totally. Which leads us into, like you said, we dabbed into it a little bit. The question I have where I'm wondering, like, in your opinion, why do Black people, Black women rather, we feel the need to pressure the other Black women into like straightening their hair, having the skin lighten, changing their language so they can sound proper enough?
And I actually kind of talked a little bit about this on my blog. It's KianaRobinson.com.
Yes.
And this a few years ago. It's really an older post. I probably should repost. It's from like 2017, but it's called The Beauty Within Black Women.
Okay.
And I talk about like we're the least likely to be married, you know, out of like Asian, white, and Hispanic women. A lot of times the men will date, you know, outside of us, like our Black men are dating outside the race more.
Right.
You know, so they're marrying, but they're not marrying us. And then the other guys aren't either. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then, but we're like the most educated and out of a lot of the groups of women. And some of these stats are a little older. Like I said, the post is from 2017, but you can look around, a lot of things still remain, you know. But I talk about I interviewed a couple people, and one of the people I interviewed, it was a coworker, well, my cousin who's darker skinned, and she was saying she heard things growing up, like she didn't personally have a problem with her skin color, but people did, you know, and they said things to her like, you could be dark. So I was like, oh, is that not a good thing to be dark? You know what I mean? It was like, oh,
right. When someone says
you know?
that to you, yeah,
you know,
especially as a
like
child,
7 years old.
you translate
this
it
is a
like
guy
that
you feel is nice looking.
Right. Dark is not good if they say to be dark.
Right. And but we know that goes back to just, you know, our experience here in the Americas, just our experience, how it was passed down from you know, being out in the field and in the house, and how people who are lighter skinned were, you know, praised because they assumed they were probably closer to white. And so they were favored. They were favored, right? And so now sort of passing down these very horrible, broken views on beauty, you know, because you want your kid to have a better experience. Right. You understand what I'm saying? And so now that's when we got those terms, and you know, good hair and bad hair, and you
all
know,
of that was yes.
Yeah. Now you hear people talk about like light skin privilege. Then you hear people talk about pretty girl privilege. They keep adding these privileges, but that ultimately stems from just our experience, you know, here, you know, Africans experience here, and us being the descendants of that, and it still just stains our people. A lot of that experience, some people from other parts of the world who come here, they can refer back to from Scotland, you know, to Germany, where their people are from. That's all we have to refer back to. Okay. Most of us have no idea where part of Africa we come from. We have no clue. I'm just claiming Ghana. I don't even know if it's true. I need to do an ancestry test, but I just claimed it. I don't know. But we don't have anything to refer back to.
That's true. We don't.
So they think we're holding on. We're not. That's all we know. Like, that's our history, our American history. You know, we were here when y'all came over on the boats. We were here too, doing things and interacting. So that's what we have, which is why we're kind of divided as well, right? We've been programmed to be that way from years ago.
Yes, like you said, over 400 years ago, because of slavery. And what I think is, like, as Black women, until we look at that truth and not like try to sweep it up under the rug, we can't heal and stop the colorism. we will continue to think we're better than each other. You understand what I'm saying? Unless we look at the origin of it.
It's really sickening. And I talked to a light-skinned coworker. I interviewed her, and we talked about, colorism. And she was, of course, she thought it was, it's disgusting. We understand why it is. We know why.
We understand why, right.
But then she said something that kind of eased my mind, because it used to really bother me. At that point in time when I did this whole little blog, this whole post, it was very it was annoying me. Like I was just struggling with that so bad. Like, why can't we just,
Yeah.
And that was the reason I did the blog post. But in the interviews, so she was like, everybody wants to be something they're not. And I was like, okay, she may be on to something. She's like, people single want to be married. Married people want to be single. People want to be doing dark. People want to be like. And she just broke down like, you know what? I mean, it sounds kind of simple, but at that point in my life, I kind of needed something simple because I was so bothered. And I was starting this whole little movement of changing beauty standards. I had shirts and stuff because I want to change what this standard of beauty looks like, because it is upsetting. You see comments and people still say things like she's cute to be dark or whatever the case,
Right.
It's like, that's not something that was in my house. Like that wasn't a thing in my household. And I noticed it as early as probably third grade, that was a thing. I didn't know the term for it, but I just observed that the teacher treated certain people different. And the only thing I could understand is like, is it because she's darker,
Right.
And I just started noticing a pattern, because I at that point went to a predominantly white school. So I noticed
that
and there was only like 5 of us in the classroom. So you kind of start to notice things or people interact. And then it was in the neighborhood, it was a guy, I was looking for a friend to come out, and he said, oh, she probably in the house trying to stay light like you. It was something like that. I guess stay out of the sun. She's probably in the house.
That's what he was referring to.
Trying to stay, and I'm just paraphrasing. That was like the first time I heard, like, what? Like
what's he talking about? Right.
This is the thing. And he was dark skinned. This is like, I didn't even, what's happening in their house?
Without his grace, how could I say that I've seen the world from his great love? How could I know what he could love? How would I have seen what he had in store for me if I didn't give up and let him be my valley of grace, where things would change and maybe they'd take up the cross high again? The valley of grace never was the same after he had died. The love that refines. So much I wish I could give back, but I'm not intact to be sharing all of that. You took the price to give me that life, and now it's never gonna fade away. When I see I need more of him, he whispers the sweetest of mercies upon my ears, and I won't go back the way it was again, 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 and now a valley of grace where things would change. I've seen the light, so valley of grace where things have changed. much for me.